Welcome to Hockey Inside Out. I'm your host, Adam Susser. Let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about on today's episode. Number 1, are the Habs physically tough enough to win when it counts in today's NHL? Number 2, was it a good move to play Al Montoya against the Blackhawks on Sunday night? Number 3, we have our HIO viewer question of the week asking why the Canadiens are still playing David Desharnais. And number 4, do you agree with Michel Therrien's decision to make Greg Pateryn a healthy scratch and play Joel Hanley instead? We have some new faces joining us this week. Let's meet them. She'll be playing the role of Andy Bennett, but without the sports expertise. She is Gazette City editor Louise Solomita. I was thrilled when the Habs signed him in 2008. I couldn't wait for him to crush some heads in a Habs uniform. If we're lucky, maybe he'll crush my head today. Former Canadian and co-founder of Mentorum and BGL Energy, Georges Laraque is here.
Hello.
And of course, everyone's favorite stat hound and Gazette sports writer, Mr. Stu Cowan, is with us. For years, the Montreal Canadiens have been considered one of the smaller teams in the NHL, and whenever the Habs did go far in the playoffs, they always seemed to lose to teams that were able to outmuscle them. So the Canadiens inevitably focused on what they did well, which was speed and skill. It can be argued that the team today is a little speedier and a little more skillful, but when the grind and toughness of the playoffs set in, do you think that this team is physically tough enough to win in today's NHL? Why don't we start with the strongest person in the room? Louise, lead us off.
I have a theory. I think what the Habs need to be tougher are more mustaches. If you look at Andrew Shaw and how well he's been laying on the body, and look at that mustache. So I think we should all just, it's November, let's go for more mustaches, and then when the playoffs come, even more facial hair.
That
and
makes
we're going to be kicking butt.
They would definitely be tougher if they had this big guy in the lineup. He's still a very imposing figure. The Canadiens ranked last in the NHL right now with only one fight all season, and it was Nathan Beaulieu. But the game has changed so much, and I think one thing you notice with Shea Weber at the games is that I think players are afraid of him. Shea Weber only had one fight last season, but you'll see him in front of the net when he clears guys, he'll cross-check guys will sort of turn around and see it's him and go, whoop. So I don't know if that would play into another player's mind or not.
To me, there's a couple question marks. The fact that, yes, we got Andrew Shaw. Yeah, Weber is good, but Andrew Shaw is a small guy. He's not a big guy. So a lot of problems that's been going on with the Habs is every end of the season, they're having a bit of problems because after the New Year's, they start being more physical. And they don't play a puck possession team like the Blackhawks or Detroit does. So because of that, they dump and chase more. And because they're a small team, the grinds after 82 games, it takes a lot out of their bodies. So because of Price is saving the team, obviously, and especially second end of the season because they'll be tested more. But when you're a small team like that and you don't play a puck possession team like Detroit does, what happens is that the grind that it takes that game when playoff time comes, a lot of time guys are hurt. They're getting hurt. So I hope that they could stay healthy. They could make it really far in the playoff, but they have to be healthy, but they're still a really small team.
Do you think that they got bigger, though, with the acquisition of like Radulov and Weber, or they're still relatively small?
They got bigger with Weber, but Radulov, the problem is big, but he played for 8 years in a row, only 60 games in the KHL, which is a league that still is not physical. An 82-game season in the NHL is totally different. It'll take more toll on his body. It'll be much harder on him. So I hope that his body will be able to last all year long. But the way that he plays right now, I'd be really surprised if, after 50 games, he'll still have some juice in the tank.
The one thing I've said before on the show, too, is that one thing with the Canadiens is their little guys play big. Brendan Gallagher plays big. Paul Byron plays big. But it's too bad those guys aren't big, because that would make a big, imagine Brendan Gallagher in Max Pacioretty's body. It would be a pretty scary hockey player.
Because it doesn't matter how brave you are. If you're a small guy, even if you play big, your body takes a toll. And then when it comes towards the season, you get hurt a lot because you play in a league of giants. And I love Gallagher. It's poised, the way that he plays the game. It's awesome, but he's still small. And after 82 games, hopefully he's healthy enough to be a big contributor in the playoff.
Who was the toughest guy you played against? Was there one guy that stood out in your mind as the toughest guy?
Jeremy Roenick was, talking about skilled guys, they're physical, that could take the grind. Lindros probably was. Eric Lindros, when I played against him, was the toughest.
And Roenick was also the funniest guy you played with, if I read your website correctly. Right?
Yeah, Roenick was, yeah.
Okay. I do my research. On Sunday night, the Canadiens lost 3-2 to the Blackhawks for the second best record in the league. Were you surprised that they didn't play Price in nets?
Well, to me, I know a lot of people, everybody's talking about this and everybody's bringing this up and people are saying, well, Price should have played against the best team. But you remember the game that they lost 10-0 against Columbus? The mistake was not pulling Montoya after the first period. After the first period, it's 3-0. You pull him out, you put Price in, maybe you change momentum, but that way you don't embarrass the goalie. After they did that and they said they talked to him and they made sure that he was okay and he was going to stay the whole game, they owed him one. Well, the favor that they gave to him is that game in Chicago because Montreal only plays there once and he's born there and he has family there. So they did that because they owed him one and also because the guy's from there and it's unwritten rule in the NHL that a goalie in his own town, especially if you only go there once, you put him in that. So there's a lot of things that people on the outside don't know and don't know what's going on. But that's why they did that. Don't you think that the coach, the team knows that they have better chance to win with Price against Chicago? But again, in the team and all the players, everybody on the team knew that, knew the reason why he was there. They were behind him. They were supporting him because also they let him down that game against Columbus. So they had to do it for a team point of view and for Montoya's sake and for a lot of reasons. And also, after a game like 10-0, if you only put him against a bad team, what message are you sending him that you don't trust him anymore? You're talking about the guy in the beginning of the season that was awesome, that was unreal. And now he had a bad game, and all of a sudden we're all questioning Mark. You put him against Chicago also, it marks a big mark of confidence that you have still in him. So they had to do it.
I think the Canadiens wanted to prove something to him also because they let him down in that 10-0 game. And they played a good game against Chicago. They didn't lose because of Al Montoya. They played a good game. They were right in it until the end. And, give him some confidence and also give his teammates maybe some more confidence in him.
I guess having goodwill for the rest of the season from your backup goalie is better than maybe risking 2 points. In the end, it brings in more if your goalie feels that the team appreciates him, right? He's going to be more involved and more dedicated to the team.
The concern also, all along, back-to-back games, it's Carey Price. If Carey Price gets hurt, this team's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I hope that he stays healthy all year long. A lot of question about his knee if it's going to last all year. But the good thing is, if he only plays 60 games this year, if he's not tested too much, it's going to be good. But there's 5 games in a row there that he got over 30 shots, so that's not good. Hopefully our defense is much better because if he gets tested too much after a long season, I don't know, I'm still scared a bit because I don't know if without him, we're still a team good enough to make it far.
I think it's obvious he's the man that we need, and that's to make it far and win the cup, unquestionably.
Who was the best goalie you played with or against?
Oh, Carey Price by far. I think that people talk about Patrick Roy all the time because he won cup, but look at the players that was with Patrick Roy when he won the cups, right? But Carey Price, whatever the first 5 teams in the NHL that you guys would predict that would finish first, put him in on that team, they already win the cup. Put a better team in front of him and it's over. What he does with this team, which has no real top 6 yet, maybe a real top 3, but that's it. It's unbelievable what he could do, and he's amazing. And he, by far, is the most dominant and intimidating player in the NHL.
Yeah. Okay. Today's HIO viewer question of the week comes to us from Murray McCracken in Saskatoon, who asks, why are the Canadiens still playing David Desharnais? He is too small, continually loses puck battles, and his lack of production is enough evidence to show that his best days are far behind him. What do you think?
Well, to me, it's because they have no choice. They're lacking guys that could take a spot. You look at Andrew Guerreiro and Carr, and they haven't shown enough to really be on the lineup on a consistent basis. They've tried all summer to move him, to get somebody to fill it, to fill the roster, the top 6, top 9, whatever we want to call it. But it's just that for now, they don't have any other alternative. He could play center, he could play in the wing. So it's just a matter of time before. I think this is this year, but I think they tried really hard this summer to replace him, but couldn't find anything.
He's played better the last couple of games after being a healthy scratch. He had a goal and an assist against the Panthers. But my concern is David Desharnais on the 4th line. If that's where you're playing him, he's not really a 4th line. He's got to play in one of the top 2 lines, I think. And I think one of the things with the Canadiens is that 4th line with Danault, Mitchell, and Flynn was bringing so much to the game. And Danault played well, and they moved him up. But I wonder if it's hurt the team a little bit not having that energetic 4th line. That 4th line was such a key to the start of the season for them, and I think David Desharnais on the 4th line is not going to be an effective player in my opinion.
He seems to do well whenever he's paired with Pacioretty, maybe on the 2nd line.
They tried that. I mean, Pacioretty's was struggling earlier also, and they put them back together to try and get something going. But the game is getting faster and faster, and while David Desharnais has a great hockey vision and ability, he's not really the fastest guy out there.
Yeah, no, he has great vision. He's courageous. He's not afraid to go in the corner, but his speed is not is not his best asset. So that's why when you look at that, I understand people's perception when they look at that, but I think that this year is his last year in Montreal.
And George makes a good point too. Is, we say people knock on David Desharnais a lot, but the one thing about him, he gives everything he has. I mean, you say he battles hard, he plays above his weight, but I think maybe he's just reached that point in his career where the game's gotten too quick.
What about the fact that he's a francophone? Does that still give him extra cred? Does it still give him sort of a longer leash and a longer lifespan on the Habs?
I think francophone lifespan in the Habs, they feel more pressure, if anything. If you're a francophone and stuff, you have to answer the media in French and English, and sometimes it puts more pressure on guys. But on him, that he's dealt well with that pressure, and I don't think the language for him has nothing to do with it. I just think that for what the team needs now and stuff, he has to move on and go somewhere else.
He's had an impressive career, though, for a guy who was never drafted. The only reason he even got in the NHL was Guy Carbonneau, who was involved with the Chicoutimi Saguenay, where he played, and got him an invitation to a tryout or a rookie camp with the Canadiens. And from there, he went to the ECHL, the AHL, the NHL. He's made a lot of money, and he's for a guy who was never drafted, he's had a heck of a career.
Yeah.
Okay. Since Thursday, Greg Pateryn has been made a healthy scratch in lieu of Joel Hanley. What do you think of Michel Therrien's decision to do that?
I was Pateryn seems to be the guy, there's something about him that Michel Therrien doesn't like, his style, where he's up in and out of the lineup. I think he's proven himself to be an NHL defenseman. I'm wondering if maybe Marc Bergevin is looking to make some kind of a deal for a defenseman, and this was a case of bringing up Hanley to maybe see if he was ready to either fill in for somebody or be part of a trade, because he had a really bad game against Detroit. And I was pretty sure he wouldn't play against Chicago, but he did play again against Chicago. And it was a healthy scratch, the game against the Panthers. But it's interesting I'm wondering what's maybe going on. Marc Bergevin always says you can never have too many defensemen. And it's I'm wondering about the Hanley thing, if there's more to it than we see.
Actually, I was pretty surprised because I actually like Pateryn. He brings a physical element to the game that I love. He's improved a lot. And, you bring an unproven guy from the minors to take his spot. What does it say for his confidence? I think that if the team wants to send a message to Pateryn, how about sending a message to Beaulieu? Because ever since he's been paired up with Weber and he's been demoted to the third pair of defensemen, we've been asking what do you think you should do to be back out there? And Beaulieu said nothing. I don't have to improve my game. Everything is fine. And he's not playing like somebody that deserves to be back there, and also like somebody that is desperate to stand in lineup. So I think the message will be more with Beaulieu if he wanted to do that than with Pateryn. It's just easy to do it with him. It's an easy guy to take out.
Profile?
Exactly. They do that often.
Okay.
The one thing I sort of like, though, with the way the Canadiens are doing it with their call-ups is they're calling up the guys who are the best players on the farm. It doesn't matter. Like, you would have thought maybe Mark Barberia would have been the guy to get called up, but his Hanley's been playing better down there. So Marc Bergevin has always said the players will make the decisions for us or for me, and he seems to be a man of his word when it comes to the AHL. Whoever is playing the best down there is going to get the call up.
Okay, at this point in the show, it's time for Stu on the Point. Take a look.
60 games. That's the number Canadiens coach Michel Therrien wants to limit Carey Price to this season, and it's a fantastic decision. So I was surprised when there was so much negative reaction, especially on the post-game L'Antichambre show, after Terrien's decision to not play Price against the Chicago Blackhawks last Sunday night. Price had shut out the Detroit Red Wings 5-0 the night before to improve his record to 10-0. Sunday seemed to me like the perfect time to give Price a night off after the team had a late-night flight to Chicago. Al Montoya played well in the 3-2 loss to the Blackhawks, but after the game, Therrien was criticized for not playing the world's best goalie in a matchup against one of the top teams in the NHL. If Price plays 60 games this season, that means Montoya will play in 22. Simple math. The Canadiens have 15 back-to-back games, and Montoya should start one of those games every single time, no matter who the opponent is. Canadian season ticket holders pay a lot of money to sit at the Bell Center, so I'm guessing Price won't miss too many home games, which is probably why he got the start against Detroit instead of in Chicago. The Canadiens will once again go only as far as Carey Price can carry them this season, and Terrien's number one priority should be to keep Price healthy. Sure, a goalie can get hurt during any game or even in a practice, but by limiting the number of games Price plays, Therrien is also limiting the risk of him being injured. Tired players simply get injured more often than rested ones. This incredible start to the season by the Canadiens, and especially Price, means they can play .500 hockey the rest of the way and still make the playoffs. Of course, we were saying the same thing at this time last season, and then Price got hurt. With a healthy Price all season long, the Canadiens will definitely make the playoffs this year. He's simply that good. Without Price, a collapse is definitely possible. But hey, we already know that, don't we?
Thank you so much for joining us on Hockey Inside Out. We'll be back next Thursday at 8 a.m. Like always, I want to thank our special guests, Louise, Solomita, and Georges Laraque, and of course Stu Cowan over there at the other end of the table. I'm Adam Susser. I'll see you next week, Habs fans.
Wow.